You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball, on which two of the three hosts today are sporting merchandise from teams that are not baseball playing, but they are in the postseason. It's a fun sports time of year. I'm one of those 2/3. My name is Tyler Mon. Sam Dykstra is the other one, and Benjamin Hill, those two dudes in New York City. Fellas, what's going on?
See, Ben and I both did the same thing where I looked at Ben's shirt. I'm like, who is he wearing?
I know that.
I forgot what I am wearing.
Is Ben wearing something? What is Ben wearing?
I see what you're wearing, Tyler. So I'm like, okay, I'm very aware that, the Denver Nuggets are still in the NBA playoffs.
Slouched down, so maybe you couldn't see because I have terrible posture. So maybe that was part of it also.
I forgot what I put on today, but yeah, I have a Boston.
You got a little Boston Bruins polo on. I got a Denver Nuggets pullover on, and Ben, resplendent, a professional looking button down. He's the
There's
one
no branding on me. I'm my own person.
He's taking his work seriously today.
Yeah, I'm a walk. I mean, if anything, I'm the brand. I'm a walking brand. I don't need branding on top of branding. You just look at me and you say, "There's the man, the myth, the brand, Ben's Biz."
The man, the myth, the brand. That's pretty good, actually. That might have to go on the next. If we make another run of Ben's Biz t-shirts some days, I think the man, the myth, the brand should probably be.
I like it. I like it. Let's do it. I need some more t-shirts too. Anyway.
Yeah, I never was able to get my hands on a Ben's Biz t-shirt. I gotta somehow. I wonder how much money they're going for on eBay.
I'd be shocked if one was even listed on eBay. I still have a small supply. Of mostly off sizes at this point. I don't mean off sizes, but I mean I have the smallest and the largest.
Okay, gotcha.
But the great middle of mediums, large, extra large, and even double XL or large.
Well, the good news is being someone who just can't ever be in good shape as an adult human being, I'll just eat myself to the point where I can fit into an 8XL or whatever you have left over. Because I don't think I'm ever going to get the other way, be small enough for the small one. So I'll just try to get larger, which is not a problem that I have.
All right. Sounds like a great goal, Tyler. Just keep at it. Keep me updated. Then I'll get you that.
I'll let you know how I'm progressing. Well, we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Thanks for hanging out with us wherever you found this official podcast of minor league baseball here. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming up on this week's episode as the minor league baseball season hitting the middle of the month of May. We had a reorder in the top 100 prospects from MLB Pipeline. We'll talk about that here shortly. But we've got a really cool conversation that we want to get to here in segment number one. And Ben, we're headed to Fort Wayne, Indiana on this week's episode. Tell us about what we're going to chat with Fort Wayne's Mike Nutter about today.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. This podcast comes out on Friday, May 17th, and Saturday, May 18th, the TinCaps at their home at Parkview Field are hosting Mental Health Awareness Night. So we got Mike Nutter to talk about that. And as you will soon see, it's an important a promotion that is particularly important to the team and to him personally. And we had a great chat with Mike, and we just want to get right to it. So let's do that right now. This coming Saturday, May 18th, the Fort Wayne TinCaps, High A affiliate of the San Diego Padres, are hosting their annual Mental Health Awareness Night. And this is something the team puts a lot of effort into, a really important cause to them and to so many people. And here to talk about it is the president of the TinCaps, Mike Nutter. Mike, thanks for being here with us on the Show Before the Show podcast.
Absolutely. I consider it an honor when you guys reach out. So I am excited to be on. And we learned a couple days ago that it'll be the national game of the day with Dylan Lesko and Ethan Salas. So the on-field product is going to be really awesome that night, but the impact that we make in the community hopefully will be just as good or better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that will only mean greater awareness for mental health awareness. And yeah, this is something you guys have done the team has done a few times in the past. Could you just give us an overview of this promo, how it came about, and what you have planned for Saturday?
Absolutely. So obviously in 2020, when our season shut down and to an extent the world changed with COVID and a lot of kids were at home and things like that. When we came out of that in 2021, and we can talk about my personal situation later if anybody wants to, but like we just noticed a lot of behaviors were different, things were different. No blame, none of that kind of stuff. We're not worried about any of that kind of stuff. But we were talking to the school districts that we know, and we were just reaching out to community leaders, and it's like, can you help be a part of the solution? These kids are hurting. My kid was hurting. And so it's like, yeah, and the power of minor league baseball, like before we started recording, we were talking about some of the old stories and some of the stuff, and we have so much fun, and there's so much goofy, silly, quirky that we're proud of, but there's also the opportunity and maybe obligation for the community impact that we can have. And so for us in Northeast Indiana, mental health awareness, it's our third time doing it. What is it? Guys, it's a place in all of our minor league ballparks where people can feel safe. Okay, well, yeah, what does that mean? Like, yeah, it's family friendly and it's this, like this Saturday night, we're going to have therapists and booth all around the concourse. Obviously, we're not charging any of those people to come in. We're going to play a pregame video and an in-game video from two of our star players talking about their mental health journey and where they've needed help. And so we reached out, we started it back in 2022. We just put something up in the clubhouse that said, if anybody's willing to talk about this on social media or anything, let us know. A young pitcher that's pitching AAA ball for the Padres now, you can use his name because he was public with everything. Jackson Wolf got called to the big leagues a couple years ago, made one appearance, won the game for his debut for a doubleheader, and then went down, has since been traded to the Pirates and traded back to the Padres. Jackson, no prep, nothing, walked in there and crushed it with his mental health journey. He was a high pick and a big prospect coming out of West Virginia University. And we talked afterward, and him and I made a personal connection that still exists today. And then we saw the impact. We raised thousands of dollars for National Alliance of Mental Health. We raised thousands of dollars for a local charity. The guys, the first 2 years, wore a theme night jersey that year. We won't tonight. We're going to put the money towards other stuff. We've made a lot of money for a lot of charities, but more than that, the awareness. We have literally had kids here that have told their parents in the region, I want to go to that game. Why that one? Maybe at first because it's fireworks and it's a Saturday night. And we've literally had people look at their parents at this event and say, I'm struggling. I'm hiding this. I've got depression. I've got anxiety. I've had suicidal thoughts. And I mean, stuff that breaks your heart. But if the minor league baseball can do that, so this year specifically, I'm looking down at my notes real quick. We worked last year with a group called Remedy Live. What is that? It's a local group here. They do an in-game trivia contest. They make it fun, but then they apply their resources and appeal towards kids. If you're stressed, if you have anxiety, more than that, if you have some suicidal thoughts or just mentally stuff's going on, you can text and get a counselor 24/7, 365, and let these kids know. Again, it's a little cliche, but you're not alone in that. So we've got these two players this year that said to Morgan Olson, our great promo lady, I would like to talk on that. I heard about that. Can I be one of the guys that talks? I want to make an impact. I'm 51 years old. When I was younger, when I was their age, I would have had that guard up and the facade at times, and everything's perfect. And these young men that are going to speak on this video Saturday, and I don't make all the social media and stuff, they just let the guard down and let people in with what's going on in their mind, in their lives, in their struggle. So looking down, NAMI, which is what we talked about before, the Mental Health Institute of Fort Wayne will be here. Remedy will be here. Parkview Behavioral Institute, and then all kinds of stuff. Samaritan Dog, to show people that, hey, dogs can be therapy dogs too for stuff like this. It's the coolest thing. When my daughter was going through treatment, she met these dogs, and I have a proud dog dad of a 7-year-old golden doodle right now at home for some therapy stuff and cool stuff. And another one, Great Kids Make Great Communities, Mental Health Task Force, Sunny Path, all these people that, like, our kids have been hurting. And through an awesome game on Saturday night, they're going to hear they're not alone if they want to go up and speak to somebody. But if they don't, at that time, kids are resourceful. They'll scan a QR code. They'll take a mental note or a real note. So there's a lot going on, and it's a really cool impact we're going to have.
Yeah, and you've touched on, already through that answer, how important it is to be open and vulnerable and to tell other people, that they are not alone, because often these mental health struggles, whatever specific form they take, there's a sense of isolation and a sense that no one can help. And I know you're pushing against that, through this promotion, and it's really important to you as well, to share your story. If you could tell us a little bit more about, why this promotion is important to you specifically.
Absolutely. So my wife, Beth, and I are proud parents of 2 great kids. Our son, Carson, just finished his sophomore year at Indiana University down in Bloomington. Our daughter, Caitlin, just finished her freshman year down there during the heart of the pandemic. When kids got back to school, and in Indiana, it was a little different than different places, but when they got them back in, and we got a call one day from the school and said, we need to talk to you guys. I figured my son was out doing donuts in the parking lot or something like that. And they wanted to talk about that. And they said, no, it's actually about the other one. And they're both great kids. They're both great students. Fast forward, Caitlin, during the time of the pandemic and such, with social media and other things, and just pressures of being a young woman, developed a raging eating disorder. Tough. Guys, it decimated our family, but she's so beautiful. She's so smart. She's so confident, but she got sideways with it. And she came home. I came home one day and she said, Dad, I need to go away to a treatment facility. She went to one in Anderson, Indiana, a town just north of Indianapolis. A couple years ago, I'm flying to the winter meetings. This is not about me. This is about my awesome daughter. But I fly from Fort Wayne to Detroit, Detroit to Orlando for those winter meetings down at the Swan and Dolphin. I turn on my phone, message from Caitlin, Dad, I'm sick. I need to go to treatment. When you come back, can I get to treatment as soon as you get back to town? I told that story to somebody in the Orlando airport. We flew, I took a cab from Orlando to Tampa, Tampa to Charlotte, Charlotte to Fort Wayne, and I missed all of you at those winter meetings. But to see her eyes when I walked in that day, it was like, Dad, you came home, but you had those big meetings. And I'm like, those meetings, I'll have those several more years. And so Caitlin's journey then took her to a place in Naperville, Illinois, where she was up there for a few months. Both times we got her home and really was on a great path. And then, fellas, it's tough to talk about, but I have her permission, and she's very open. On November 10th of 2022, we just celebrated an 18-month anniversary a couple years ago. Our son came running into my room at home. Dad, get up, get up, get up. And I said, man, is everything all right? And he said, no, get out here to the kitchen. He was home for the weekend from college, and Caitlin had found some pills, prescription drugs that she was taking. And guys, she swallowed a lot of them. And we're believers in our house. I'm not here to preach to anybody. That's not who I am. But she heard a voice that this isn't what this is about. Like, whether conscience, whether the Lord, people can make their own decisions. And so she stopped, and she told her brother right away. He told me. We got her to the ER. We spent the night in the ER. Believe it or not, there were some laughs in there. There was a lot of thinking about stuff. On the way there, I said, you're not in trouble. And she said, don't yell at me. And I said, I don't yell at you guys. Like, and I said, what are you thinking? Not in the crazy when you lose your mind. What were you thinking? Like, we got a 10-minute drive. What do you got? And she said, I just didn't want to feel that way anymore. That's not who I am. I'm sad. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. I have these suicidal thoughts. And fellas, I'm biased. She's the most beautiful, smart young lady. And so you're like, wait a minute, if she feels that way, who else is going through it? And instead of pretending like we're the perfect parents, which I don't believe any exist, but I can tell you, Mama and I, Beth and I are not that description. We do our best like everybody out there. And we just said, if we can use this to help. And guys, as sure as I'm sitting here, 10 to 20 calls and emails in the last couple of years from people, we're struggling with an eating disorder. We're struggling with an overdose. We're struggling with this. Can you guys help? My daughter's graciously spoken with people. I've spoken with people. And she's in a good spot. She's 18 months recovered. She's 18 months of feeling like my life matters and I'm going to make a difference. She went down to IU to be a psychology major to help people. She switched it a couple months in. She's in their awesome sports management program, and she thinks dad's job's pretty cool. And maybe someday she wants to work around minor league ball. She's our sweet supervisor in the summers when she's back home because she's literally grown up here. She got sideways with some medication, with some mental health. There's other people out there, maybe they're connected to minor league ball and they see this. People know how to get a hold of me, and I'll talk to anybody about this subject. She'll talk to anybody, and we're just proud, one, where she is. But again, to take it full circle while we're talking, our communities impact so many people. And we're all about silly, goofy, funny. We've got the Golden Bachelor coming in this week. We've got mental health. We've got every promotion that you can imagine. But this one strikes a little different chord. And just we've done stuff with sensory awareness and autism and stuff over the years. And the mental health's gotten bigger and bigger. If Mother Nature cooperates, and I got to be honest, she has not been very kind to us so far this year. We expect a crowd of 8,000 people sold out with fireworks and mental health. And we do 35 fireworks shows, 50 probably overall with all the events. We do one of these. So they're coming out in May for this one.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I applaud Caitlin for allowing you to share that. That's not easy to talk about, both as a father, as a person who's gone through it. All of that. So thank you for doing that. And there's only one real follow-up. How is she doing? She's
doing great. She's doing so good. I just got some alert that Caitlin just arrived at Parkview Field. And so she's going to be in here getting those suites ready. But more than that, she's in a great spot. You know, colleges have changed a little bit since the Stone Age when I went through them. And I use an awesome academic and athletic and social institution. And she's at a spot in her life where she knows who she is and who she isn't. And she knows what matters. And it's tough for anybody out there. I'm 51 and I can go down the rabbit hole of the social media stuff on here and all that kind of stuff. And to imagine the pressure of girls, boys, I mean, everybody, but in her case, when you're in that 15 to 18 range, when she was really in the throes of it, it's tough. But we've never been more proud. I'll do the last gloating thing because, Sam, you asked. And so yesterday she got notice, the highest dean's list at IU for students only 3.9 and above. And she texted me and she used one of my lines. And she said, well, Dad, I just got this in my email. I fooled him again, because people tell me, in Fort Wayne, you guys have been fortunate to get a couple of awards or a few things over the years. And it's like, we keep fooling them. And so she's got our self-deprecating sense of humor. More than anything, the thing that I'm proudest of is she has put herself out there. Sure, social media following has got to be 10 times mine, of ladies, girls, if you're struggling, my things or DMs or whatever the kids say are open. And if you ever need somebody to talk to, it's really cool because it's putting yourself out there. And again, as you can imagine, we've all reaped some of the negative of it. But again, I know who I am and more importantly, who I'm not. And I'm not worried about what somebody thinks of us. It's like, if we can help, let's do it. The Mental Health Awareness Night this Saturday is going to do that. And we're proud.
Yeah, no, well, congrats to her on getting that Uber Dean's list. That's incredible.
Yeah, her father never did, but I won't let her see this because I've got her convinced I was smart at one point in my life.
Probably
that's all part of the fooling, right? That's what you were saying,
Yeah.
That's how it goes. I want to touch on one other thing you talked about, of how on Saturday, weather permitting, you guys are figuring that there will be 8,000 people. Normally we talk to teams about promos and they're on Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights trying to draw people to the ballpark. You guys are doing this on a Saturday when it's normally going to be full anyways. How much is that timing factor into this?
I love that you asked that, man. I really do, because I think I know you're really perceptive anyway, but in this thing, we did not want to do it. Schools just getting out for a lot of the schools this week. Believe it or not, there's still a few high schools in next week and stuff like that. And we said we want to do a Saturday night where maybe people that aren't coming for that still get some of the messaging and different stuff like that. So we feel like we could have put it on a different night and probably had a more of an impact on those nights, or we could have taken last night's 2,800 and made it, I don't know, 4,000 as a hypothetical number. But we think that Saturday, to combine it with the best promos that we have and some of that stuff, was the way to do it, so we can just impact people. Listen, we're realistic. If we get up to 8,000, I don't know what the number is. 6,000 might walk in the door having no idea what that was because it's the Saturday. But the kids that wanted to invite their parents, or listen, I've talked to parents that have asked, I think this is going on with our son or daughter. Again, if it's something that we don't know anything about, we direct them to the appropriate people. But hey, I think my daughter has an eating disorder. How should I approach this? And it's like, well, you should probably talk to somebody else. But my wife and I will tell you what we did. And so we've heard of parents saying to their kids, hey, we're going to the TinCaps game Saturday night, without even telling the kids what the theme is. And maybe it strikes some dialogue. The ride home. Hey, in our daughter's case, Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin, have you ever had those thoughts? You know, you're a kid, you're under pressure. You don't have to keep it all bottled up, because, you know, they don't want to let us down and disappoint us, just like we don't want to do that as their parents. And those conversations can be tough and the dialogue can be tough. But we felt if we put it on like a huge night, we could just have an even bigger impact and not worry about ticket sales and catching my buddy Jim Jarecki in West Michigan in attendance, but like, how can we make the biggest impact? And that's exactly what this one is.
Mike, when you look back at your time in minor league baseball, the flag that minor league baseball has kind of flown, especially in recent years, is that this business is so open to so many different life tracks. You know, the ways that you can get into working in minor league baseball are so different. The ways you can get into being a fan are so different. And it does feel as though the inclusion element in minor league baseball has just been expanding year over year. When you look back on, you know, when things got started for you in your career, and now looking at the various, you mentioned, you know, doing sensory friendly nights, doing stuff for mental health awareness, you know, even things like Pride Nights or the Copa de la Diversión program. It is the expansion of the tent, so to speak, of who gets to be part of this. And the fact that minor league baseball has been so open to trying to invite, you know, people who maybe traditionally haven't been fans throughout the history of minor league baseball. Just speak to what that's been like, witnessing that evolution over your time in baseball.
Tyler, we've come so far. And I want to make clear from the front end of this, it isn't invite more people into the tent or into the stadium because then our attendance is higher or we can make a few bucks. I mean, listen, we're all trying to sell tickets, but that, like, genuinely, that is not what this is. So I'm going to touch on one that here in the heartland, here in Indiana, hasn't always been the easiest thing to talk about for some people. It has been for our club. But we had a meeting this March with the lady that runs the Pride Festival here, the group, the not-for-profit, and all that kind of stuff. And 3 of us on full-time staff invited her in, and we sat in this office and talked for an hour and a half with no agenda, We're not promising anything. We're not asking for anything, and vice versa. And it was, do you feel included? Do you feel invited? You know, what do your members think? What do different people around the community think? We learned so much that day. I mean, again, it's so cliche, but like, we learned. So what does that mean? And the lady's like, well, when I came into a game last year, you know, not even on your Pride night, on our big group night, but I saw a rainbow design thing in the store. And I bet if we didn't buy you out that night, you know, and it was like, but again, I don't want to go back to the money. It's like, she's like, we always felt included, maybe not always invited, you know, but like, and now we just know, but you do it under the guise of, how can we learn more? Michael Limmer, our VP of marketing, and I have been together for 25 years in this town almost. And it's like, we just want to learn more. And so he's going down this track with some Native American tribes because the Kikiangas played here first, but we don't want to do things a certain way. And we were a year late coming into Copa. We really wanted to do it, but again, we're not talking about other teams. We're talking about us. I think the other teams all do all these things so well. We didn't want to just check a box. Like, we wanted to be able to say, when somebody asks, why are you doing this? Either in the media or a great fan, even in a positive, hey, why are you guys doing this? We wanted it to be like, well, because we're now members of the Hispanic Chamber, and we've talked to these 25 businesses, and we've done this groundwork, and we think that we can have an impact, but not just like, hey, we're going to do this. That's what it is. If we're being very, very self-critical, and we do that, back at the old ballpark, the Indianapolis Clowns were the name of a big Major League Negro League team. It was the first team that Hank Aaron played for before he went on to be, in a lot of people's opinions, if not the greatest, one of the top 5 hitters of all time or whatever. And so we did a Clowns night. It was cool. The guys wore the jerseys, but we didn't do anything. I mean, we didn't do anything with it. And that's been 20 years ago. And we're a lot better now at what we do, maybe even longer than that. But my point is, we're probably, and he is like the most thorough dude of all time, and we're really intentional with this stuff. So that was way too long-winded, but it has changed so much of everybody is included here. I remember talking to Scott and Redding 20 years ago, if you guys know any of the people at Redding and their success over the years, and we were hoping that we could get to a ballpark like the one that we get to call home now. And I've never used the term of like, how do you know when you've made it or arrived? Because you'll get humbled in a hurry and think you get to start over. But I vividly remember Scott telling me 20 some years ago at a winter meetings, when they're asking you to do stuff that has nothing to do with baseball and the on-field product, people look at you as a leader in the community. And 2 years ago, unfortunately, a young airman lost his life in a battle in a exercise over in Europe. And we didn't know him, but we knew people that knew him and those kinds of things because it's a big little city here in Fort Wayne. And the question was, hey, everybody likes going to the TinCaps games. Can we do the viewing at the ballpark? And thousands of people came through it. And again, it's not about us. I don't want one person to think that I'm sitting here trying to brag about Parkview Field and the TinCaps. That's not what this is. It's about inclusion and people feeling like, hey, there's something to be done. Why don't we do that at Segra Park in Columbia? And why don't we do that at this field in Columbus, Ohio, and in Grand Rapids and all the other communities around the country where you feel like if an impact can be made, maybe the people of minor league baseball are sitting at the table now. And that's what's changed over the years versus everything being the quirky, goofy stuff. Do whatever you can to sell tickets and get them in. Now it's like, hey, you're invited, you're included. We want to be an all-inclusive place.
Mike, one of the last times I talked to you, or at least had a more in-depth conversation, was in the wake of you winning, what was that? The Minor League Baseball Executive of the Year award.
Talk about fooling people.
Yeah, exactly. That was your ultimate deception there. Executive of the Year at the winter meetings. That was in San Diego, I guess, heading into the 23 season. But I remember that conversation, about, hey, that award, fooling people or not, it was a great honor. And I remember in that conversation you talking too about, as a leader, president of an organization, mental health, working within minor league baseball and how, the industry has changed in that regard. And, what is your approach as a staff leader, to helping as much as you can with the mental health of the people who work for you?
Great question. I thought of that after getting too far down the weeds with Tyler's question. So I'm glad you followed up with that. And Brian Shacko, our VP, one of our VPs here, he has really, really, really pushed the envelope here. We joked about back in the Stone Age when we started in this industry, you were in at 7 or 8 or 9 every morning and you did everything and you worked the game and you picked up trash after and you did this. And when you're old enough, you went and had a couple of cold ones and then you woke up the next day and did it all over again. And that describes fun at times, but not the best mental and probably physical health. And so we have mandated within our organization report time. So 1/3 of the staff today for a 7:05 game tonight that should be well attended and stuff showed up at 1. We have mandatory weekends off where you have to miss 1 weekend of home games. You can miss up to a certain amount, but we want you to miss a minimum of whatever. Things have changed where staff sizes didn't used to be 35 people. So within that, you can grow the next generation and build them up. I am at my weakest when I'm tired. I start to get a little bit of a short fuse. I start making decisions that aren't always the best. Well, today, as we're filming this, we're on day 3 of a 12-game homestand. And so you're like, how can we do it? Guys, full disclosure, I have no problem talking about this. I sent something to a couple of senior members today and like, hey, I'm just kind of struggling with a little bit of this stuff. We had some other non-TinCap stuff going on here at the venue and vandalism and stuff over the weekend and different stuff. And so it's like, I'm around. My door's open 99% of the time. Today might be one of those 100%. I'm here. I'm working. I got to find the juice for the game tonight. And so one of the guys right away said, how about you head home with Beth and the kids? I said, well, I would, but they're all working at the ballpark tonight, so I think I'll stay here. And so we have really been push the envelope. There was a couple games last year, no negative, not complaining, where I felt like the weather blew up. Do we have enough people to put the tarp on? And some of those ancillary things that are way below the list for the mental health and that kind of stuff. But we have done it. That group, and again, I'm not selling anything. Their services are free, but that group that I mentioned before, Remedy Live, we asked them to come into our staff retreat. I would tell anybody in our industry doing this, you might have somebody in your market with a different name that does the exact same stuff. And they broke it down. We all had our phones. We were playing trivia. It was mental health stuff. It was physical health stuff. It was not related to that at all. Pop culture, goofy, silly stuff, like all, but they had a way of like weaving this presentation into making you feel like, oh, this is fun. And you know what? We learned some of the stuff through that. And to take it back full circle on the personal thing, our kids have said, and kids of other coworkers and stuff have said, that next generation, there's still the look at me on the social and all that kind of stuff, but that some are breaking down those barriers as well of like, hey, I need help. And it's okay to ask. And at my younger age, somebody might have thought you were weak or something like that. Not that we think that or ever did, but like now there's some faction that's willing to say, I need some help out here. And again, if we can do that with minor league baseball, it's like, hey, that's really cool. But Shaq and the rest of the group and me along with them, but Brian Shacko's leadership, we have pushed the envelope because the mental health of our people means so much. We don't, listen, we have drama and stuff just like everybody else. Nobody's complaining about the weather in April in the United States of America more than the guy on your thing today. But we don't have as much as that burnout factor and incidents and stuff like that where people losing their cool because we all just need that break. And it's like, it's okay to, I'll get a text this week and the next week from a full-time staff member, whoever it is, that's absolutely unbelievable. I know you don't want me to text this, but I'm texting you anyway. I'll be in closer to 11. I got some stuff going on. I don't care what it is. Like, I care what it is, but you know what I mean? Like, deal with that stuff. Hey, my kids having a mental health. I am struggling with that. We are very, very open here. We don't know everything about everybody, but like, we're pretty open of like, we're going to take everybody at their word. If you need a day, we had a guy last homestand, the day of a big game. And it was like, I got stuff going on. I'll explain it in person. Awesome. Take care of that stuff. If you make it in, you make it in. But as much as we love doing what we're doing and the impact that we can do for these people and the mental health and the family stuff is so much more important than us against the South Bend Cubs this Saturday. But what impact can we have around the on-field stuff? And that's why minor league baseball is so much better.
Yeah, well, from this conversation, I think it's obvious, what an important promotion this is taking place on Saturday, Mental Health Awareness Night with the Fort Wayne TinCaps. And Mike Nutter, president of the TinCaps, we really appreciate your time, your openness and honesty in talking about this. And of course, appreciate your daughter, Caitlin, as well for, permitting her to share your story. So just really appreciate your time, and hopefully the weather holds out on Saturday, and I'm sure it'll be a great night at the ballpark.
Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate all you do. If this gets any traction, how about next year, if we want to try and do it again, it'll be Caitlin and I together, and she can give that perspective of the young kid, what they're feeling, and me as the old man in her mind, and what I'm feeling and how the impact we can make.
Oh, sounds like a plan. We would love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
A huge thanks to Mike Nutter from the Fort Wayne TinCaps for stopping by. That was during the middle of that interview, I messaged you guys on Slack and said, this is an amazing conversation, because it's one thing to, put the resources behind something like Mental Health Awareness Night in Fort Wayne, but to feel the passion that Mike and that front office and the ownership group and everyone else has for a night like that is really powerful stuff. And that was really amazing to be able to talk to Mike about that.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed talking to Mike through the years. I guess I first met him, going back a ways, 2010, 2011, some industry event or visiting Fort Wayne for the first time. But he's always been just very outgoing, friendly, and honest. And I think you heard all that in that conversation. And I would think a very good person to work for, and the success of the TinCaps, would reflect that.
Yeah, and once again, just to kind of underline something we all said during that interview, but the fact that Caitlin is willing to talk about this and share it and be a resource for other people is incredible. I mean, you go through something like that, and I think the normal person would just want to kind of shut it down and put it in a corner of your brain and not talk about it again, even if you come out the other side like she has. But to be that resource for people at the ballpark, and to work for the team like she has, and to get the grades that she's getting at IU. I mean, like to keep on living like she's been doing is an incredible story. And kudos to her for sharing it, and kudos to the entire Nutter family for being a beacon in the community, and the entire TinCaps family too.
Pretty amazing stuff. Of course, you can get more information about Fort Wayne's promo night at the TinCaps official site through MLB.com, and pretty incredible stuff. And of course, we're going to see more teams doing this as the season goes along, but just a really cool conversation to get a chance to have with Mike today. So a huge thanks to him, and a huge thanks to Fort Wayne. And we continue along on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. And we're talking about the next chapter for a minor league baseball team that is headed to new pastures in 2025 and beyond. Next year is 2025. Just as a side note, that's insane to me. But anyway, that's not the point of this conversation. Ben, the Down East Wood Ducks, who currently call Kinston, North Carolina home, one of my favorite places, one of your favorite places. Down East is headed away from Down East, which is not really the part of North Carolina they're in anyway, but that's beside the point. Tell us about what's up next for the franchise soon to be formerly known as the Down East Wood Ducks.
Yeah, this is the last season at Granger Stadium right now. Like you said, Tyler, a ballpark I know that you enjoyed in your Carolina League days, and I'm going to visit one more time. But that'll be it for Kinston, North Carolina, and the Down East Wood Ducks following this 2024 season, moving to Spartanburg, South Carolina. And Spartanburg had an affiliated minor league team in the form of the Spartanburg Phillies, who played their last season in, I want to say, 1994. 1995. Sam's referring me to my own article. But yeah, they played their final season in 1995. So there's been 3-decade absence until new minor league baseball in Spartanburg. And this past weekend at a downtown block party near where the ballpark is currently being constructed, I believe. This team will play in a ballpark called Fifth Third Park, another Fifth Third coming to the landscape. There's been a lot of those through the years. And this team, can this setup get any more long-winded? This team will be known as the Hub City Spartanburgers, with a primary logo that is a burger. The Hub City Spartanburgers with burger-based branding. And, for me, the one thing that jumped out right away about this team name, and I can't think of any precedent for this, is that the place name, which is usually the name of the city, they use Hub City. So they use the city nickname as their place name. And then they take the actual city name and just tweak it slightly to make it the team name. So Spartanburg's team is the Hub City Spartanburgers. Hub City is a nickname that goes back to around the turn of the 20th century when there's a lot of industrial production going on in Spartanburg, textiles, that sort of thing. A lot of different rail lines going in and out of Spartanburg when it was a hub of industry. And there you go, a hub of industry. And apparently the different rail lines coming into the city, made the city map look like the hub of a wheel with the train lines denoting different spokes of the wheel. So it's been called Hub City for a long time, and apparently that that nickname is still used throughout Spartanburg quite a bit in business names and signage. Apparently, when you go to Spartanburg, it says "Welcome to Hub City." So that's a very well-known nickname for Spartanburg. And then Spartanburgers. I mean, I guess if you're going in that direction and you're using Spartanburg in your team name, Spartanburgers. And if you're going with Spartanburgers, that makes you think of a burger. So it is a hamburger, anthropomorphic, of course, carrying a bat, of course, wearing like an engineer's cap, I guess denoting that, railroad history. And it is a pretty interesting look. One thing, I have an article about this on MLB and MILB.com. One, it's not an error I made, but I would call it an error by omission, is that there was just for one season in 2021 a summer collegiate like Coastal Plains League team that played in Spartanburg, and they were just called the Spartanburgers, I believe. I don't think they used the Hub City. So there was a recent brief precedent for a burger-based team in Spartanburg. And now the minor league team is really fleshing it out, putting Hub City in front of it, and going big and going bold. I think it's a pretty solid, vibrant look. Tyler, Sam, I mean, I know you guys spend a lot of time looking at uniforms and logos as well. It was designed by our friend Dan Simon of Studio Simon. And I don't know, what kind of impressions did you guys have on this identity?
I do really like the signage element of it, where it looks like the neon arrow that's pointing you to an old 1950s restaurant where you're going to get a delicious burger. Also,
Hub City is written in that vintage diner, retro diner aesthetic.
The fact that the burger is wearing like an old-timey train conductor hat, I enjoy as well. But yeah, it is interesting, as you noted, to have the location name, the locator, as like the nickname, and a nickname as the location name. Like that is very flipped from what you ordinarily see. And it's not unprecedented, obviously. The Rocket City Trash Band is Rocket City is a nickname that they use as their locator. The most famous probably in professional sports is the Golden State Warriors, I guess, who use a nickname for their location name. But kind of uniquely applied here.
Yeah, I think for sure. And one thing that stands out to me about this, you were kind of touching on this, Tyler, is we all celebrated the Jersey Diners and the look that they have.
Yeah.
This is very specific
very
to
similar feel.
Yeah, of it, but it's like a burger joint instead of the diner. It's it's kind of got that diners, drive-ins, and dives feel to it a little bit. Without like, there's not a Guy Fieri mascot here. I think that would be like too easy to do.
I think the Rocky Mountain Vibes stole that in their last, that marshmallow that looked very
a little bit.
Serious.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. But they do have secondary logos here too that the Jersey Diners have. And there's a pickle chip.
That's Chip.
That is Chip.
Chip the pickle. They've named him Chip.
My wife hates pickles more than like anything in existence, so I'm absolutely going to be getting her a shirt with Chip the pickle on it.
There's also a knife.
That's a spatula. So what you have there is flip and chip.
Flip and chip. See,
flip the spatula and chip the pickle chip. Would you be shocked to learn that they're both anthropomorphic?
That spatula is the designated hitter, I guess, the designated flipper, as it were. And Chip only plays the field. I'm struggling to come up with a pun on that one.
We'll circle back.
What? What did you say?
Not your best joke.
What? A designated flipper?
Yeah, it's there's a high standard for good Sam pun jokes. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the one that I have on Chip, which is not going to be any better, but I'm going to go for it anyway, is I'm guessing he's only playing defense because his fielding tool is his bread and butter.
Uh, I thought, and it actually is better than I thought you were going to say something about it like being the real dill, and I was like,
Yeah, no, too many people go for dill. Not enough people go for bread and butter pickle jokes.
I will say, I think my only, and I don't know if it's a complaint or a qualm or anything, but there are a lot of logo colors in this, a lot of identity colors. Their color scheme is navy blue, bright green, red, brown, and yellow. Like there's a whole, they went across the game. Ordinarily, a team is unveiled and they got 2 or 3 logos. This is like they just threw in every color, or 2 or 3 colors, I should say. They just threw in every color to depict a burger, which I guess you have to do. But it gives them there's a wide, colorful panoply of things that hit your rods and cones. I don't even know if that's
I think the easy version of this to do would just do like a blue and green burger. You know what I mean? And just make that the hat. I think that there are probably versions of that out there, right? Where it's just like the outline of a burger, but this kind of leans into the colorfulness.
Like a silhouette, a little burger silhouette.
Yeah, like I could see that being the main hat, but that's not what this is. It is the colorful. You can see the red of the tomato, the green of the lettuce, the yellow of like it's all there for you. And it's a little bit more of a maximalist approach, which I appreciate.
There is also a quote in Ben's story from Tyson Jeffers, the team's general manager, and he says, quote, "We better have the best dang burgers in baseball." And now we're going to start up that path. I'm going to be really intrigued as to what the iconic, I feel like this team has to have like 100 different signature burgers now. If you're going to name your team entirely after burgers, there's got to be a wide array of signature burgers.
Yeah, and I think they're feeling that pressure. Tyson Jeffers had previously been with the Hudson Valley Renegades. I last saw him in Hudson Valley last year when I visited there for their Cider Donuts promotion. So now he's moved on from the Cider Donuts to full-time Spartanburgers. Both Hudson Valley and Spartanburg are owned by Diamond Baseball Holdings. So he's moving within the same ownership group. And he's in an interesting situation, building a staff, still quite a ways out from opening day. The stadium's being under construction as we speak. So, it's that weird kind of netherworld where you're working in minor league baseball throughout the course of an entire season in which you don't yet have the team, but you're just building it all up. Obviously, the burgers are on his mind because when your primary logo is a burger and your team name is the Spartan Burgers, people much more than your usual ballpark experience are going to be saying like, oh, I bet they have pretty good burgers. So the pressure is on for that. I think he's been saying that to just about everybody. He said a variation of that in an email to me prior to when we talked. I think he was looking for a, appropriate quote friendly word to use when he said best dang. He's like, we're going to be the best dang dang burgers in baseball, you got to know your audience, and he certainly does. So the best dang burgers in minor league baseball hopefully will be in the Hub City.
And I just want to ask about timing of this too, because we're talking about this in May. I mean, there's normally Logovember is the thing, right? That's the time when we get new looks and new stuff just in time for the holiday season. They're getting basically an 11-month head start on this before the team debuts next April. I mean, how much Rocket City was a unique example, right? Because they were announced very early and then the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like they got such a quick start and allowed to really sell themselves for a while. How much are they borrowing from that playbook here, do you feel like?
I'm not sure if it's from Rocket City specifically, but I do think in situations where you're a brand new entity, it helps to have more lead time. I mean, of course, you can start selling the merchandise right away. So always good to have that revenue stream. But I think more important is the local market. You're building a brand in this city, and you're going to get people's attention a lot more if you're not referring to yourself as, in this case, Spartanburg Professional Baseball Club, and that's the URL of your website. And that doesn't really pop. It still seems theoretical. But when you're saying, we're coming to town next season and we are the Hub City Spartanburgers, then I think that helps a lot with, your marketing efforts, with, sponsorship, talking to businesses around town, being like, this is who we are and here's how we want to partner with you. And I think the more concrete your identity, the easier it is to forge those connections, than, more so than based on this nebulous idea that we're just a team coming soon, but we can't really tell you who we are yet. So I think the more lead time, within reason you have with something like that, the better. Yeah, it's interesting, Tyler. You gave some good examples of, team names where the place name or the location name is a nickname. But I'm still trying to come up with one where it's a nickname and then a variation of the actual city name.
Yeah,
like
I can't think of
Rocket
that either.
City. If it was Rocket City, it'd be technically the Rocket City Madisonians or something like that. They play in Madison, Alabama. If you want to include Huntsville, could work, because then, even though it's not in Huntsville proper, but like the Rocket City Huntsvillans.
Yeah, Huntsvillans would be cool.
Yeah.
What are they? Huntsvillians?
Huntsvillians, yeah.
The ones that come to mind for me are the Los Angeles Angels, right? In some way.
Kind of.
It's not the same, but
it should be like Los Angeles Angelinos.
Yeah, but it's if you want to translate, it's the Angels, right? Like that's one thing that people like to. I'm not saying it's a perfect example, but it's borrowing.
I don't think Havana
the same thing.
Officially part of the name anymore. Yeah, I can't. Like sometimes you'll hear about old timey teams that were known by like the nicknames of the people who lived there. Like, for example, if well, this is an example that doesn't apply either because the location designation is just the name. But there's an Appy League team now, the Bristol State Liners. If they were like the Coal Town State Liners or something, and it was in reference to, I don't know, I can't come up with anything.
Yeah. So anyone listening right now, if you can come up with a concrete example of this kind of team name happening before, with a nickname as the place name and the city name incorporated into the team name itself, let us know.
Who I bet could is Josh Jackson. I bet that Josh has come across somebody with ghosts that fits this bill of like the Emerald City Seattleites. And you're like, oh, okay, that's very literal, I guess.
Well, we'll ask Josh. I mean, it takes a while to, send the letter and then wait for his reply, but we will check in with him about that. He seems to
be open to the idea of either the Pony Express or Telegraph. So we might speed it up a little bit in getting in contact with him, but otherwise it's usually like, several weeks at minimum.
Yeah, so we're working on it. Yeah, he's open to new things. The Telegraph, he's learning the Morse code decently well.
And Tyler, I'm glad into the modern world.
Yeah, he's getting there. And Tyler, just as an aside, I'm glad you mentioned the Bristol State Liners because please subscribe to my newsletter, the Ben's Biz Beat. New edition came out today, Thursday, and it showcases my visit to the Modesto Nuts, and my designated eater, Travis Sullins, was actually he was on his own ballpark road trip, and he is from Bristol, Virginia. And in introducing Travis in my newsletter, I mentioned that he's from Bristol, home of the State Liners, and that team name is because it's the state line between Virginia and West Virginia. That's what I wrote in my newsletter, and that is wrong. I've already gotten several emails correcting me on this fact, and I apologize. And I want everyone to know I'm very sorry, because Bristol, the State Liners, that state line is between Virginia and Tennessee.
It is.
So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to correct the record.
I appreciate the correction, and I appreciate the geographic accuracies, because that's one of those places where, like, if you had me sit down with a map, I could name what's where, but in my head I can't exactly visualize it. So that does help me to have an idea of like, oh, okay, I kind of get the general idea of where Bristol, Tennessee is.
Yeah, I've been there twice, and I still got it wrong, and I should have known better, because I really liked being there, and I hope to make it back to Bristol, Virginia, and/or Tennessee. Great Appy League location, and Bristol, I believe it's the Tennessee side. I don't know. Don't quote me, anybody. But
now Ben's getting out in front of it.
We know it's not the West Virginia side.
Yeah, it's definitely not the West Virginia side. It's the birthplace of country music. The first recorded country music sessions, like in studio, were 1927 in Bristol. And I actually visited the Bristol's Country Music Museum and bought a 2 CD compilation of those early 1927 recordings. So if you want to hear some real American roots music, check out the Bristol sessions from 1927. And Bristol is now home of the state liners, and the states they straddle are Virginia and Tennessee.
Dun, 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 dun. The more you know graphic goes across the podcast. All right, you dudes, we are going to step aside for a brief timeout. Sam and I will discuss the updated MLB Pipeline Top 100 prospects when we return. Josh Jackson's going to swing by with Goes to the Minors in a bit, and then we're back to wrap it up. Sam and I chatting some on-field stuff next. Well, it's not the exact midway point of the season. It's not the major midway re-rank for the 2024 season, but we do have our first refresh of the 2024 top 100 prospects in baseball via MLB Pipeline. And Sam Dykstra, kind enough to break it all down for us because it's his name on the byline on the freshly updated top 100 prospects list. Sam, number 1 stays the same. That is Jackson Holliday, but we got changes. A large amount of them behind him, guys graduating, guys moving up and down. What stood out about this process re-ranking here at the middle of May?
Yeah, we did it in the middle of May just because the sample size is a decent size at this point, so you can make some judgments on guys whether they should be moving up, moving down, moving onto the list, moving off the list, etc. But the reason why we did it over the weekend was, I think it was Sunday, was the official day in which anybody who was on a major league roster on opening day stayed on that roster, has been healthy the whole time, and had 0 service time before opening day, graduated. So your Jackson Churios, Colt Keith, Jared Jones, I think those were the 3. Jackson Merrill graduated earlier than that. Somebody like Jackson Holliday doesn't graduate because he was sent back down, and those days don't count anymore. Wyatt Langford is still on the list because he is currently injured with a hamstring issue. So it's not active days of service for him. He'll graduate not long after he is healthy and back with the Texas Rangers. But still, if we're going to take 3 names off, let's rejigger things a little bit. It's not a full re-rank. We didn't vote on all top 100 guys. We looked at the list. We voted on the top 15. We re-voted on that. And then we looked at guys who we thought needed to jump or go down 10 plus spots. So anybody who's really earned moving, we tried to move appropriately. Guys we think are no longer top 100, we moved a few of them off as well. And then that opened up, I think it was 8 spots for new top 100 guys. So we added 8 new names to the list as well. Mostly at the bottom, Lazaro Montes of the Seattle Mariners actually jumped into the 80s. He was somebody we were excited to get on the list. And then when you started to look at who's on the back end, we're like, well, we like him more than this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So he kept going up. But yeah, to start at the top, Tyler, Jackson Holliday is still number 1. I know everybody has seen him in the major leagues, and it was a difficult experience for him. And you never expect the number 1 overall prospect to be sent back down. But what is something we've been constantly saying, not only this year, but this year it's been the strongest, I think, than ever, is that the jump from AAA to the major leagues is huge now. It's not, just a slight step up anymore. It's massive. And you got these really talented prospects who are struggling with that transition. Jackson Holliday is just the latest, but you look at like Gunnar Henderson, what he was doing at this date last year, and he was really struggling, even though he had some major league experience. Guys like, Adley Rutschman struggled a few years ago coming up, just to name another Oriole. Corbin Carroll wasn't necessarily the superstar that we saw last year when he first came up in 2022. A lot of these big names have gotten off to rough starts, and it's taken some time to adjust. Now, we still believe a lot in Jackson Holliday because you look at him, what he is, considering his age, considering that he's already had AAA experience. If you were to tell me a 20-year-old had the AAA success that he's had so far, you would get really excited. So we kind of put the major league stuff off to the side. We still really believe in who he is. Number 2 is Paul Skeens, debuted last weekend as well. The stuff is ace quality. There's a reason why we're still big believers in him. Now we've seen it on the major league stage. Line didn't look as great as you would maybe think for Paul Skeens going in, but allowed some inherited runners to score. Still very high on him. think he has easily the best chance to be an ace in the current crop. It would have been fascinating to debate him versus Jared Jones, who should be higher on this list considering what Jared Jones has done in the majors, but Jared Jones graduated, so he's off. Junior Caminero at 3, continue to believe in him. I want him to get that call to the majors. He's already seen that level. Wyatt Langford at 4. And then one of our biggest jumpers is James Wood at 5. Jumps into the top 5 for the first time ever in MLB Pipeline. You can't say enough good things about James Wood. The big question for him, at least the way we were looking at it, struck out more than 30% of the time last year at AA, but had a really great spring. Talking to some Nationals people when I was down there, they weren't surprised by how good he was, but the fact that at times he looked like their best hitter in the entire organization, I think he was ahead of the curve. The strikeout risk will always be there for him because he has such a big strike zone at 6'7", but he's really ironed out some of those issues at AAA. I think maybe the ABS has helped him out a little bit in having a more defined zone, but he's hitting the ball extremely hard. Looking it up the other day, he had the highest average exit velocity in AAA. He's slugging .583, batting .354, ticking all the boxes that you'd want, and strengthening the belief that he might just have, even if he just has an average hit tool, he can contribute in many other ways. And I fully expect him to be up with the Nats by the All-Star break, probably even earlier than that, considering how well he's done for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. So we jump him over Dylan Cruz. He's now the number 1 prospect in the national system. That's maybe our biggest mover and shaker in the top 15. Our top biggest jumper overall is Christian Scott, somebody we talked about recently on the show. Really good fastball, really good slider. Now he's added a sweeper. I like his changeup. That transition from a sinker to a four-seam has made him look great. It seems like initially the Mets were calling him up to kind of maybe be a spot start. Let's see how this first one goes. He's passed the test through 2 starts so far for New York. I fully expect him, even when that rotation is at full health, for him to be at least a number 4 starter for them for the duration of the season. And we'll see what's going to happen late down the stretch because he's not somebody who's thrown 100 innings in a season yet, but all the pieces are there for Christian Scott to fit comfortably in the Mets rotation immediately. He jumps from 100 to number 58 now on our list. Another guy jumping 40 plus spots was Andy Pages, outfielder for the Dodgers. He's somebody who's actually handled the jump to the majors pretty well, which makes him stand out all the more. He went from 92 to 52. He's played some center field, played some right field. I think he probably ends up in a corner long term, but the fact that he's giving the Dodgers some defensive flexibility, he isn't walking a ton at the major league level, but he does still have that power. And the fact that he's doing this after missing a lot of last year with shoulder surgery is really, really noticeable to me. And then just to go through the names that we added to the list at the bottom, I already mentioned Montez of the Mariners. He goes to number 85. Then at number 93, it's Zach Veen, outfielder of the Rockies. Really struggled last year at AA, but I think a wrist issue was a major issue for him. And a reason why his slugging numbers were down there. Everything seems to be back this year. He looks like a power speed threat now that he's fully healthy. So we got him back on the list. Moises Ballesteros, Cubs catcher at number 94. Cam Collier, Reds first round pick from 2 years ago. He's really taken off at high A this year. Third baseman, he's at number 95. We graduated a Churio. We added a Churio, and Jason Churio, outfielder for the Guardians. Unlike his brother, he's more hit tool forward, but his walk to strikeout ratio has been really special at every stop. So that continues, gets him on the top 100 for the first time. Number 97 is Edgar Caro, catcher for the White Sox, acquired from the Angels last year at the deadline. Number 98 is Jefferson Rojas, shortstop for the Cubs. And then at 100, because number 99 is Victor Scott II, who still remains on the list. But at number 100 is Ralphie Velazquez, drafted as a catcher last year by the Guardians. They've moved him to first base, but his slugging numbers have been really, really good. And even if he does stick at the cold corner long term, which is what it's looking like, he's going to have the bat to really have some value. And that's why we got him on here at number 100.
So you can check out all of the updated lists and rankings, MLB Pipeline, and get your team's most exciting next generation player on your radar right now. We will step aside for a timeout, bring it on back with Josh X and then Ghosts of the Miners. And then we're back to wrap it up on the other side.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once took to the fields for a brief spell. The others didn't even come out for that. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A. The Eastland Judges. B. The Northborough Bandits. C. The Westerly Sheriffs. A fair and wise fan are you if you picked A, the Eastland Judges, who represented the Central West Texas City in the West Texas League of 1920. It was likely Eastland standing as seat of the eponymous county that earned the baseball club its Judges moniker, playing into the lore of tough law officials reining in the bandits of the Old West. However much or little their name had to do with outlaws, there's no escaping the case that the Judges were very bad on the ball field. Managed by old Texas League legend Jim Curly Maloney, Eastland took a circuitous route to finding wins and rarely did turn up any, going 54-67 to finish 6th out of 6 teams. Still, it'd be injudicious to go without acknowledging that the Judges did have a couple of promising players. Joe Bratcher, who in 4 years' time would get into 4 National League games with St. Louis, started the 20 West Texas League season with the Cisco Scouts, but wound up leading the loop in hits with 126 for Eastland. And 19-year-old Virgil Cheeves pitched well enough to break through with the Chicago Cubs that very year. There will be no grounds for objection when I tell you that otherwise, the Judges' roster was fairly contemptible. Judges' management was courting disaster in the box scores, and got it. In one late August game, Eastland was described in the Abilene Reporter as ragged, and the paper took care to note that Ranger Nitro's pitcher Harding had been previously released by Eastland during the season, and yet at no time was in danger of being scored on by his former club, which lost that one 10-0. Things were apparently no better in the Judges' box office chambers. The West Texas League had big plans, and Eastland was headed in a different direction. That December, the circuit gave Judges ownership 10 days to sell the team or relinquish the franchise. And relinquish the franchise the Judges did. West Texas League play was sustained for another 2 seasons with no Eastland team. And that's how the Judges were benched. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these players had a regional style in the minors of yesteryear? A. Tex jeans. B. California trousers. C. North cummerbund. Want to know the answer? See a haberdasher. Or tune to the next Ghost of the Miners. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is about to hit the roof over his busted trampoline, and I've got to give him a soft landing.
Final segment on this week's episode of the show before the show. Big thanks to Josh Jackson for stopping by with Ghosts of the Miners. And yeah, that's about it. Fellas, anything new and exciting your way?
Hey, I saw Neil Young and Crazy Horse on Tuesday night.
No way!
And then Sam could have gotten a ticket yesterday, and he chose to go see Planet of the Apes instead. And I just feel like, man, you're seeing some recycled IP instead of one of the most legendary rock performers playing with his old boys and Crazy Horse at a beautiful outdoor venue. To each his own.
Sam, I am a little disappointed with you in that, I think.
Okay, well, tickets were more expensive than I was willing to pay.
Huh. Okay, interesting.
And I have the AMC pass, so the movie's practically free.
here's my question for you. Have you seen like all of these? Because so Beth and I saw a preview recently for that, and we both said, like, who are the people who are going to see the Planet of the Apes movies? Like, it's one, like the Marvel universe and the DC universe and the Taylor Swift universe, whatever. The three dominant things that are sucking the life and the oxygen out of everything else. But then they've made like 87 Planet of the Apes movies, and I have not seen a single one of them. Have you seen all of these? Are you the person?
I mean, without getting too down the weeds of this is the fourth movie in like the current iteration of Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't have
that's
to have
three more
seen,
than I ever would have thought there would be.
you don't have to have seen the Charlton Heston. You don't have to have seen that, but
every ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee. Those ones.
Or you don't have to have seen Dr. Zaius the musical, like
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
But I have seen the three movies leading up to this one.
Wow.
Which were directed by Matt Reeves, who is a tremendous director. Most recently directed the Batman movie, which plays right into Ben's hand about IP and all that stuff.
Huh.
That being said, those movies have a really good reputation. They are very deep in terms of philosophically and like culturally and what it's like to be other and like trying to treat people. I don't know. It's a very interesting philosophical series, I would say. It's not going to sell like lunchboxes or figurines or anything like that, like superhero movies or Star Wars. So it doesn't really have that like cultural zeitgeist, but the movie right now has made $141 million worldwide, and it came out last week. So people are going to see this movie. That's why I went to see it. Was like, I want to see what the conversation that comes out of it. And as I will remind you guys on this show last year, I had a goal to see 50 movies that have come out in 2024.
Yeah.
Like I need to work towards that goal. Right now I'm at 8 and we're talking May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're way
so in like a movie that's going to come out and like is going to make a lot of money. And like, I just want to know what the conversation about. It was fine. It wasn't that good. I'm going to be honest with you.
You'll never make a monkey out of me, Sam.
Yeah.
The famous closing line from Dr. Zaius, the musical. All right, fellas. Well, it is time for the latest and greatest edition of the game show Sweeping the Nation. Name that dude. I was originally going to go with an Indiana University ball player in tribute to the conversation that we had a little while ago with Mike Nutter. We talked a little bit about IU, but two names that came up, one way too obvious, and Kyle Schwarber. The other one, which I did not realize that this guy was an Indiana product, but Ted Kluszewski from 1940s, 50s, 60s baseball, the guy who used to like cut the sleeves off of his Cincinnati Reds jersey because his muscles were so big, and he would just wear the vest with no sleeves underneath, which I'm endlessly jealous of. Ted Kluszewski also went to Indiana University, but that would have been a tough one to get. So instead, I'm going with a guy who has nothing at all to do with Indiana University, but for Hoosiers fans, you got some cool alums. So instead, I will be going with this dude who was drafted by the Texas Rangers in the first round of the 1986 MLB June draft from Georgia Institute of Technology, known to you as Georgia Tech. This fella, he made his professional debut in that very same year, 1986. He actually made 3 appearances in the Gulf Coast League and then jumped to Double-A Tulsa, then known, I believe, as the Tulsa Oilers. Oh, no, they were the Tulsa Drillers. Never mind. And then, if you can believe it, he made his big league debut that very season.
I'm fairly sure I know this one already.
The Texas Rangers. Oh, okay.
I don't. Should I just go in?
Yeah, no, please.
Yeah.
I believe this may be Bobby Witt Sr.
It is not, but that was a very good question. That was a very good guess. A very good guess. It is not Bobby Witt Sr. But that was
a secondary guess though.
You have a secondary guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'll. Oh no, I do not. No, I do not. I was going to say Pete Incaviglia, but then I remembered he did not. He made his debut. He was one of those ultra rare players who made his debut in the major leagues.
Oh, interesting. I did not realize that.
John Olerud's of the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Drafted in the first round in 85, made his debut April 8th of 86. Wow. Pete Incaviglia. He was only listed, by the way, at 6'1", 225. When I think of Pete Incaviglia in my head, I think of him as like, he was 6'8", 340. Like just a Hulk. Apparently he was a little more
Perfect dude
size.
for the 93 Phillies. That's what I was.
All right. So this guy in 1987 pitched at 3 minor league levels, was not back in the big
Pitched.
leagues until 88. Oh, pitched. Dang it. I gave
Pitched,
that away.
That's,
All right. So he's a
hint.
pitcher. Pitched at 3 levels. Port Charlotte, which was then in the Florida State League, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City. Tulsa, which was in the AA Texas League, and Oklahoma City, which was in the AAA American Association, which is abbreviated on Baseball Reference as AA, and that's very confusing. 1988, he made 26 starts for Tulsa, 4 more in the big leagues, and then from 1989, he was basically a big leaguer for the rest of his career. He did make a few rehab appearances here and there in various organizations, last pitching in a minor league game with the Staten Island Yankees, the Trenton Thunder, and the Columbus Clippers, an appearance each in 2004. And then the final year of his big league career was 2005.
So he was with the Yankees at the very end.
He was with the Yankees at the very end. He was with the Texas Rangers at the beginning. He was with 4 different organizations in between. And he's one of those. In
so
between.
6 teams total.
Right. So it started with the Rangers, ended with the Yankees, 4 in between.
It's not Kevin Brown, is it?
It's Kevin Brown.
Wow.
Nice job. Because I was going to say, he's one of those rare guys who you might actually think of from a team where he didn't really spend a lot of time. Because he was a force on the World Series champion Marlins in 1997, but he only pitched 2 seasons for the Marlins. He was with the Marlins in 96 and 97. He was with the Padres for a World Series year in 98. They, of course, didn't win that World Series, but he was on that team in 98. Then he went to the Dodgers from 99 through 2003, and he was with the Yankees in 2004 and 2005. Kevin Brown was a very good pitcher. That dude,
he has like a legitimate Hall of Fame case.
Yes, he very much does. And it kind of surprises me that he has not gotten more of just like that. Oh, he's the fan favorite stump guy. Like this year, let's go out and rally some support behind Kevin. Kevin Brown for a while was like one of the most feared guys in baseball. He's a stump.
Feared. I think he kind of like fails on the vibes a little.
Yeah, not feared in the way that like, Roger Clemens was feared. He was feared in like a Mike Mussina way, where it was like, oh, this dude's just going to dice up, or like a Greg Maddux way. Maybe not on Greg Maddox's level, but like this dude's just going to carve up a lineup for 7 innings.
I think Mike Mussina is like a decent comp, and he just doesn't have the final numbers that Mussina does.
Right.
But like, if he was starting that day for the Dodgers, you were like, okay, well, this is
you're like,
probably
wow,
the best
this is a
pick. Like,
loss. Or it's going to be, we'll have a 2-1 lead going into the 8th or something like that at best. Yeah.
But then, like, you look at his final stats.
3.28, the career ERA in the majors. Not that wins and losses matter anymore, but 2.11 and 144 was his, which like 2005 when he retired, I was like, man, Kevin Brown's a 200+ game winner. And you kind of like, at that time, it was like, good, but not great. Didn't get to 300. And now you look back at those numbers, you're like, that was a great career. Like, nobody's going to get to 300 wins anymore. That was a great career.
No, Ranger Suarez is on his way.
That is
Ben
true.
was ready to pounce on that. We will not have Ranger Suarez slander.
Early stages. But yeah, Kevin Brown. I like Kevin Brown. He was looks like a 6-time All-Star. Yeah, a dude who, he really was, he was a stud. He was a stud.
I mean, maybe, the Hall of Fame committees exist, and there are a lot of guys left off, and who knows, like someday, like I hold out hope Lou Whitaker will be in the Hall of Fame at some point. I was looking at David Cohn's page the other day. Like, I think David Cohn has a legit case to make it. Kevin Brown, maybe we'll be talking about him 15 years down the line and getting into Cooperstown.
I just want to throw out Kevin Brown's 1996 numbers, probably his best season. The year before he won the World Series with the Marlins, 1996, Kevin Brown 32 starts. He got decisions in 28 of those. He went 17 and 11. But his overall numbers, a 1.89 ERA, 3 complete game shutouts. He struck out, which this is like, what a different era. He struck out 159 in 233 innings, but he only walked 33. His ERA plus that year was 2.15, which is preposterous. His whip was 0.944. That led the big leagues. He finished second in not only the Cy Young voting, but also the MVP voting that year. It's a pretty amazing stuff for Kevin Brown. No, not second in MVP voting, second in Cy Young voting, but he was in the MVP vote. Just like a really good career. I feel like he's an underappreciated guy, and that's my soapbox for Kevin Brown.
Not on this podcast. We are
not on this podcast. No,
we're remembering him.
Yeah, he needs a flashier name though. I mean,
he does. I also went to grade school with a kid named Kevin Brown.
That's what I was thinking.
Kevin Brown was like dominating in the big leagues, you know?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Kevin Brown, I went to high school with him. He wore those corny, like, co-ed naked t-shirts. Like...
Oh, man. Kevin Brown, I had forgotten this, but evidently was implicated in the Mitchell report. Hey, you know, it's things happened in those times in baseball. So that's this week's edition of Name That Dude. Ben with the point for this week.
It's good. I felt a little rusty when it's been my turn to guess. It was nice to jump in there, and I'm still kind of reeling from the Rich Hill double pick of last week, and that was one of the most amazing.
That was weird, man.
In podcast history. Sam and I are on the same wavelength. I give this fellow a hard time, but you know he's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
We can end the show now.
Yeah.
I always think about like making a joke about Sam or saying something snide. But he, is truly the sweetest and greatest human being that you will ever know. So I don't want him to ever think that I'm doing that seriously. And B, I know Sam's mom listens to the podcast, and I don't want her to be like, why are they mean to you? Because he's the greatest dude that I know. And I don't want Sam's mom to think that we're actually making jokes. We love Sam to death.
She listens to the podcast. She didn't finish it the one time it was important to finish it.
She got to the part about your other job, and she was like, whoa. I need to have a conversation with my son now. All right, you guys. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. For the world's greatest co-hosts for a podcast, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill, for Josh Jackson, and all the rest, my name is Tyler Mon, and we'll catch you next week.